KOWB is back.
It is 8:12 on your Thursday morning, and it is my pleasure to welcome to the program for the first time. And he joins me in studio, our first face-to-face one-on-one interview. He's the new head coach of the Laramie Plainsmen, and you'll get to know me quite well, as you probably have heard. Dr. Travis Brown in studio with me. How are you today?
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking. A little tired. Been pretty busy the last couple of days, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet it's been a whirlwind time. First of all, let me get your take on what's the reaction been like from folks that you know or even don't know that have maybe approached you and congratulated you.
It's been very positive, especially with a lot of the parents that I have interacted with in the community through youth sports. Nothing but some great support, and I actually haven't heard one negative thing. If anything, a little bit of maybe concern how I'm going to balance everything, but I think the people who know me, I'm high energy, and I've never really had that issue before, being about balancing multiple challenges.
Dr. Travis Brown got the Plainsman job on Tuesday. You're a guy that grew up in Washington. You have a little background playing collegiately. Shed some light on a little more of your background so folks can kind of get to know you and where you're coming from a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm from Washington State originally. That's where I played high school. Played at the largest division at that time at the high school. Went on from there, was actually recruited. I was a multi-sport athlete as well. Played football, basketball, baseball. I ended up playing football out of high school. Due to concussions, I actually transitioned and played basketball for a little while. And then went on to Washington State to found a passion for science, really. And so I still played a lot of basketball. I played in pro-am leagues and everything during graduate school. I've never stopped playing. I still go back and play competitively in a number of tournaments throughout the year. I'm just older and slower, so it's...
Yeah, none of us are getting younger and quicker. I know. If you found that formula, let me know, because I think there's a lot of people out there that would like that. Thanks for coming in this morning. You mentioned it's been kind of a whirlwind last couple of days, and you're trying to kind of catch your breath here a little bit. So let me ask you this. What is your background in terms of style philosophy that you're going to implement now that you get to be the guy that everybody looks to for what's going to happen with this program now?
Yeah, I have a lot of influences who have helped, I guess, shape how I've played. I was always more of a blue-collar player. I worked hard. I got my playing time first with defense first, hustle, and as I got older and stronger, and I didn't become really an offensive threat probably until my junior and senior year, and that's helped me get where I eventually got in college. But we're going to play a tough-nosed style of basketball. Tony Windus has helped me out a lot in the community here, establishing a youth program that is very competitively gone out, and quite frankly, we challenge ourselves against whatever competition we can get, and we never back down. Our kids are not scared of size, speed. They believe in themselves, and they believe in what they've been coached. And so we're going to go out there, and we're going to be in your face. We live at 7,200 feet. I believe we should take advantage of that. We're not going to probably beat you in the first half, but by the second half, when their hands are on their knees, that's when we're going to pound you to the ground.
So maybe a little run and gun at times, but obviously you got to adjust for your personnel
right.
from year to year, because you just never know what you're going to get, it seems like.
Yeah, and yesterday was my first opportunity to meet a bunch of the young men at the open gym, and we're in a feel-out stage. I'm still trying to see what we have to work with. I'm seeing if, like you said, there's a personnel there to run. The way I envisioned we could play full court press the whole time, come back and do a trapping style defense a lot of times, and then look to take advantage of their mistakes. And so we'll see. I'm really excited. I think we do have a lot of players coming back. They're going to be big time contributors. I think they're going to be in for a little bit of awakening as far as the expectations and what we're going to be doing as far as conditioning goes. And so they'll be ready to go though.
What is your knowledge of the program? Obviously, you've been in this community now for about 4 years, but you haven't coached at the high school level, and I want to touch on that here in just a moment. So what is your knowledge of the program and its history, and just where we're at right now with the program coming off this past season?
Yeah, I mean, I went and watched a couple games last year. I have friends in the community. I have a son who's 11 years old. Jaden loves basketball, so we went to every opportunity we could. My impression of last year, they had a young coach much like myself, and what was neat to see is that the program made progress. I think they got hot at the end, and I think what was really special in some ways, you got a lot of players who had an opportunity to get varsity experience that maybe not would have under a more established program maybe. And so I think that's my take on last year's season. I'm looking forward to building off the success they had at the end of the season and going forward with that. Traditionally, I don't think it's any, people know we haven't won a state title since 1985. Gillette's been a power for quite some time. Natrona. Now you got some of the Cheyenne schools that are stepping up. So we don't have an easier road ahead of us, that's for sure. But it's a 12-team conference. I think we can compete at that, and I think we can compete on a yearly basis. And so that's what I'm looking to do. The nice thing is we got Rod Tyson back on board to help with the freshmen. He obviously has a lot of historical perspective with the program. He was a part of that championship team in 1985. And there's a lot of community members here that I've interacted with throughout the years that are going to help give me some of that institutional memory as far as how do we get back to where we want to go.
Well, we're visiting with Dr. Travis Brown. He's the new head coach of the Laramie Plainsmen boys basketball program, and I think everybody was surprised that Ryan stepped down. I mean, it was about a year ago. He and I were doing the same interview in the same situation, same setup, but for you come in with no high school coaching experience. What's your response to people who are going, I can't believe they hired somebody that doesn't have any coaching experience, not even a JV or sophomore level or freshman level?
And I think that's a fair criticism. I guess my biggest response would be I don't have that coaching experience at that level, but I know how to play basketball. I've been a part of it, and my family breathes basketball. My wife played collegiately. It's not like we don't know basketball. We've also been coaching competitively at the youth level, and I can make arguments that, quite frankly, we're in Denver's Premier League, we're in Salt Lake City, we're in Las Vegas, wherever we can go. You're coaching against coaches who get paid good money to go out there and know what they're doing, and we've competed with nothing more than the kids from Laramie on a very high level. And so I think as far as the X's and O's go, we'll be okay. And truthfully, I think my biggest challenge right now is let's get everyone bought in and not be scared to work hard and see where we go from there.
You mentioned Rod Tyson coming on board. Are you still cultivating your staff still?
Yeah, so currently we got Rod. We're still Mickey is going to be probably taking another position. Okay. Hopefully within still the basketball within Laramie. That's the goal. The goal is to kind of build a program from the bottom up in some ways. The Rage program is going to become part of an umbrella part of the high school actually. Nick Darling, who runs that, him and I are good friends, and we're gonna make sure that there's a smooth transition all the way to junior high. I know the coaches there as well, and so it's going to be a fun aspect in that sense. We still are looking for 2 coaches. We'll start that process here. We've got state track going on right now.
Yeah.
So Bruce is pretty busy when he gets back, and we can get that process moving forward. Zach should be returning. He was a sophomore coach last year. He'll come back in probably some capacity. That's still a little up in the air, but we have 2 of this staff from last year, and then we're looking to get 2 other ones.
All right, so we're visiting again Dr. Travis Brown. He is the new Plainsman basketball coach. Now, you're an assistant professor at the university. A lot smarter than I am. Number 1, you're a doctor. Number 2, I don't even know what your program is about, so you can explain that. But what's that balancing act going to be like, being an assistant professor, but you're still trying to be a full-time head basketball coach?
Yeah, I think it's like anything. The people that you have helping you get there are going to become integral to your success. I'm very fortunate. I do have a lab. I recently got a grant, a multi-million-dollar grant, or $1 million grant from National Institute of Health to study drug addiction. I got a good grad student, Paige. She's been there going on 4 years. She'll continue to help with that transition. I got a new postdoc, Colleen Cassidy. She's fantastic, and I got a new grad student coming. So I got a really strong core of people there. It's much like a coaching staff in some ways. And so I think that's the next step, is going to get that in place for coaching. And so it's it's not a one-man job. It's going to be a team effort to try and get this where we want to get it. So.
What got you interested in the neuroscience aspect of things?
Yeah, it's a great question. Truthfully, my grandfather had Parkinson's disease, and I just wanted to help somehow. And so I was actually, I was an athlete. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I took one neuroscience class, and it just resonated with me. And since then, I love doing experiments. I love being in the lab. We're really fortunate here. We have a really good neuroscience program ran by Dr. Bill Flynn, who's been here almost going on 30 years and been successful himself. And I don't think sometimes people understand how great the research program here is at University of Wyoming. So.
Well, must have done something right to attract you here to the community, right?
I feel like, I feel very fortunate. Family, my wife and son, they love her. My wife's a speech pathologist at the junior high. She'll be moving on to Indian Paintbrush this year, and we've just been blessed that everybody's really taken us into the community. And really, if it wasn't for the community, I probably wouldn't have pursued this. I think a lot of people ask me about are you going to have time for this? But in reality, I currently coach, and this is where I'll take a step back, but I coach baseball 4:30 to 6:30, and I go to basketball 7 to 9, so I'm 5 or 6 hours every night coaching youth sports anyways. And if anyone, my son will probably be a little upset but happy not hearing his dad yell at him for 5-6 hours solid. So.
Taking a little step back, you mentioned the success that the Gem City Wranglers, that's the competitive youth basketball program that you were talking about earlier, Travis, and how do you take that experience and maybe help you from a baseline standpoint now at a high school varsity level, but then knowing that you'll probably have to tweak and mold yourself a little bit differently?
Yeah, and what I can say is based upon my observations last night, basketball's basketball, and kids need fundamentals. And the youth sports, if anything, what they help, if you're successful at it, what they help teach you to do is learn multiple ways to convey those fundamentals to kids. Not everybody learns the same way, and not everybody you can't push everybody the same way. Some kids do great with you being on them, and some kids, you got to take a step back, and you got to be a little bit more of a friend or a father figure. And so I think that aspect will help me build these relationships with these young men going forward. I think I'll be able to help assess with the fundamental aspect of the game, and then because I do play still, I think that's the part where I can help them and say, we have to do things with a purpose. And I'd say if I looked at last night's team a little bit when they were scrimmaging up and down the court, that ability to recognize what the purpose of their moves are, the situations and positioning of the court, the spacing, I don't feel they quite are grasping that yet, and I think that's basketball at any level, and so I think that'll translate.
Obviously, as we continue with Laramie Live on KOWB, David Settle with Dr. Travis Brown. He's the new Plainsman basketball coach. You touched on this a little bit the other day, and just a little bit earlier in terms of the community. Really supported you in your pursuit of this. How would you describe the process? Obviously there are things you can't talk about, but how would you describe this whole process?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a black box, I'd say, in the sense that when it started happening, it happened quick. The process in general, I feel like, once it started, it's been a fairly transparent process. I don't think it's any secret I wasn't the first candidate or first choice. Derek Mickelson was, and Derek, if we're fortunate enough and his family can move here, he will be a part of this program moving forward. He just wasn't the right time for him in his life, and him and I think have a mutual respect for each other. He actually has a traveling team that competes competitively a year above mine. Oh, okay. And so we have actually known each other from the outside looking in, I think out of mutual respect for what each one has accomplished. And so he's reached out to me since getting this position. He's been nothing but a class act, and if it works out and his family can get here, I think he'll be a part of this thing moving forward, and he has a vested interest too. So.
All right. What are your next steps? Obviously, it sounds like finishing up your coaching staff, but what are your next steps here over the next couple of months? What do you want to get out of the summer off season?
Yeah. So camps. We're gonna first camp down the road here is going to be the UNC camp. That'll be June 9th through the 11th. We'll have team-oriented practices prior to those camps to get everything going. And then we'll follow up the University of Wyoming camp. it's going to be a little bit of a tricky summer with the transition to the new high school. Gym space is limited, and so everybody's fighting truthfully for the junior high gym space. So I think, will I get as much practice as I would probably want this summer? No. As many open gym opportunities? No. But it's a transition period, and I think we all are aware of that. I'm not the only one who's probably wishing that we had more gym.
Yeah, I think if they had to redo it, maybe they would have left the high school alone until, like, I don't know, mid-August.
I think we'd all be a lot happier, that's for sure.
Yeah.